Good evening from the KTN News Center. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of December 2014. This is KTN Prime. Now, on the program, the International Criminal Court has declined to grant Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda any adjournment on the case against President Uhuru Kenyatta. Will this consequently lead to ending the proceedings? Also tonight, Ethiopia also shares a border with Somalia, but it does not get as many attacks as Kenya does. So what is it that Ethiopia does right that prevents these attacks? That could be the pointer to Kenya securing her borders and ending the killings. Many thanks for joining us on KTN Prime. I'm Linda Ogutu. And I'm Ben Kitili. These are the top stories tonight. Is the Uhuru case over? ICC judges tell Bensouda to either prosecute Uhuru or let him go.
Found the two remaining bodies for Ryan Magu and Alan Magu, terribly decomposed.
Search for Magu boys ends as their bodies are found in a thicket in Ruiru.
Coming to terms with a massacre, relatives gather at city mortuary.
As a government, we have a duty and we are going to protect you, and we are already doing it, and we'll do it, and we shall do it.
And frustration and anger. Cabinet Secretary gets worked up over insecurity.
Welcome to the program. We begin this newscast with news of what might be ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda's last chance to keep her case against President Uhuru Kenyatta alive.
ICC Trial Chamber 5B judges have given Bensouda an ultimatum of a week to either withdraw the case or state whether she is ready to start the trial against Uhuru, saying that they cannot adjourn the case any longer.
The 12 judges have also rejected the prosecutor's request to report Kenya to the Assembly of State Parties for non-cooperation.
Today's ruling comes as a blow to prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, who has been desperately seeking for evidence from the Kenya government in order to sustain a case against Uhuru Kenyatta. In her submission during the status conference held at the ICC early October this year, Bensouda told the court that she would proceed with a trial against Uhuru Kenyatta if Kenya would cooperate in giving her the documents she had requested for. Asked to give a timeline of when she would be ready for the case, Bensouda requested the court to adjourn Uhuru's trial. Until that time, Kenya would cooperate with her office. In their ruling today, Trial Chamber 5B judges gave Bensouda an ultimatum of a week to file a notice indicating whether she will withdraw charges against Uhuru Kenyatta or if the evidence she has against Kenyatta have improved to a degree that would justify proceeding with the trial. The judges have also rejected an application filed by Bensouda on 29th November 2013, seeking for a referral to the Assembly of State Parties, her allegations of Kenya's non-cooperation in the case against Uhuru Kenyatta. Bensouda told the court that the government of Kenya had failed to comply with her request to produce financial and other records relating to President Uhuru Kenyatta. In their rejection, the judges noted that Bensouda had failed to convince them on whether the evidence she was seeking for from the government of Kenya was enough to help her office sustain the case. The chamber also noted that the rights of the accused were being violated by the continued delay of the start of trial. They ruled that a further adjournment would be contrary to the interests of justice under the circumstances. Bearing in mind the rights of the victims, the judges also stated that this interest must be balanced with other interests of justice, saying that it would not be in the interest of justice for the proceeding to be further adjourned. The judges also stated that in the event of a withdrawal of charges, its decision would not prejudice the right of the prosecution to bring new charges against the accused at a later date, based on the same or similar factual circumstances, should it obtain sufficient evidence to support such a course of action. Zubeida Kome, KTN Prime.
And that story by Zubeida Kome forms the basis of a big question tonight on KTN Prime. We are asking you, do you think the Kenyan government has deliberately frustrated Bensouda's case?
Bensouda in a lot of trouble. Tell us what you think. SMS your yes or no opinion to the number 22155. Join that conversation on Twitter at Ben_Kitili, at Linda Ogutu, and at KTN Kenya. Shall be sampling your views during this live newscast.
Indeed, let's now focus on a story that has been the point of focus for the last couple of days. The search for two boys who went missing last week after their parents died under mysterious circumstances came to a close today. The two boys, Alan Magu and Ryan Magu, were found dead today and their bodies dumped at a plantation in Ruiru. According to police, their bodies were found at the same spot where their sister's body was found on Monday. Betty Chalo with the details.
After days of searching for the missing boys aged 8 and 9 in the hope that they would be found safe and sound, the end turned out to be more disturbing, more mysterious. This afternoon, search and rescue teams found the bodies of the children in a thicket inside a tea plantation in Tatu City.
We have found the two remaining bodies for Ryan Magu and Alan Magu. Terribly decomposed, actually maybe partly eaten by animals.
This is the same spot where the body of their little sister Tiffany was found. Tiffany was just 6 years old. Her body is said to have been partially burnt with what is believed to have been acid. She also had a deep cut on her neck. Today's discovery leaves more questions than answers. Just what happened to these children and their parents? Last week, Magu's wife and mother to the 3 children, Lydia Wangoi, allegedly went missing. She was later found murdered and her body dumped in a thicket near Paradise Lost. Some of her body parts are said to have been partially burnt. A day later, Magu is said to have been involved in a fatal accident at Ngoliba on the Thika-Garissa highway in what is suspected to be a suicide. Yesterday, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations arrested a woman believed to have crucial information on the mysterious deaths. Anne Wambui Wanyoro, who is a pastor, is currently being held at the Muthaiga police station for questioning. She is said to be a close family friend to Paul Magu and was in constant communication with him throughout the period before and during the murder incidents. Anne allegedly visited the home of the Magu family on several occasions for what the household described as visitation rituals. Betty Kialo, KTN.
Such a tragic story there. Our friends and relatives of those killed in Mandera yesterday flocked City Mortuary here in the capital, Nairobi, for the better part of the day to identify the bodies of the loved ones. Lofty Matambo reports on the pain and shock witnessed at the mortuary.
A somber mood at the City Mortuary here in Nairobi. Weakened by grief and aided by Red Cross officers, they came in turns to identify and view the bodies of their departed loved ones that perished in the Tuesday morning Mandera attack. James Nduthia is yet to come to terms with the double loss. His brother and a cousin were working at the quarry and they were not lucky when Al-Shabaab struck.
Nime-identify my brother and my cousin, na nikaona ni yeye na ameuawa kinyama. Sasa mimi ningeomba serikali itusaidie kupeleka hii miili mahali sisi tutasika watu.
Due to the trauma, Red Cross officers decided to set up some tents in the mortuary compound to offer counseling services to the bereaved before they left. Most of them are expressing inability to cater for the burial costs.
Mimi kucha hakikisha ni yeye, kuchaona yeye. Sasa ile kitu mimi sina ni uwezo wa kutoka hapa kumpeleka nyumbani. Sina uwezo hata nichukua sedi kwa jirani.
Nimepoteza mzee wangu na mtoto wangu na semeki yangu. Na serikali ipate kuona matokeo yote.
Serikali kuu lazima pia ifikirie watoto hao watu watafanywa nini, because by the end of the day the government owes a responsibility as far as security is concerned.
Meanwhile, hundreds of non-locals are still flocking the army barracks in Mandera, demanding to be airlifted to their respective homes, expressing fear for more attacks despite government's reassurance on their safety. Lofty Matambo, KTN.
Let's stay with that story. The bodies of 5 more victims in the Mandera attack arrived at the Kisii Level 6 hospital this evening and were received by relatives. Speaking at the hospital, Kisii County Governor James Ongwae said that all leaders should put their heads together and find solutions to the runaway insecurity in the country. Ongwae also said that his government will meet the cost of the burial for all the 5 Mandera victims.
Na sisi ni watu tuna embrace ile msemo kwamba Kenya is one indivisible nation. Na hiyo ndio tunaitisha. Sisi hatuitishi kusema kwamba watu wetu wamewawa na sisi tutafanya hivi. Hiyo sitaki kama gavana wenu hapa Kisii kusikia. Sisi ni watu wazuri. Kitu nataka nisikie ni ile mambo ya pastor na fathers, ile ambao mambo ya Mungu ambao wametuambia hapa. Ile mambo ya kuishi vizuri pamoja na kuwa watu pamoja. Ambao inatakikana ni kwamba kama leaders, especially those leaders kutoka Northeastern Province, wanatakiwa warudi kwao nyumbani wote. Wawe na meetings huko kwao, wazikizane vile wanaishi, tena wa form cells huko nyumbani, ndio wao wanajua hawa ni watu wetu, hawa ni wazuri, hawa ni wabaya. Brothers and sisters. And so we are asking the national government to look at the whole area of security and to have a very serious national dialogue on the whole area of national security. That's the only way that we can cure the problems of this country.
Now, after it emerged that at least 18 of the 36 Mandera victims were from the county of Nyeri, the question has been how so many young men from one area in the county could have found themselves in Mandera at the ill-fated quarry. Now, KTN's Caron Dairy reports hundreds of young men have been leaving Nyeri and rushing to Mandera for the lucrative job offers there, where they are said to be paid 10 times better.
The sad reality that half of those who perished in cold blood in Mandera were their village mates here in Kieni Nyeri still sinking in. The question, though, that lingers is why so many of these young men from Nyeri ended up in Mandera, almost 1,000 kilometers away. Of the 36 victims of the Mandera massacre, 18 are from this county, that is Nyeri County, prompting many Kenyans to wonder why they had to travel so far to work in a quarry in Mandera, yet there is a quarry right here in Chaka in Nyeri County. Perhaps no one better than David Mwangi, whom we meet up with in Chaka town, to answer this question. Mwangi returned from Mandera this morning and says he is lucky to be alive. Those who lost their lives at the hands of the Al-Shabaab militia were known to him as they were quarry workers just like him, though in a different quarry in Mandera. Mwangi traveled in a Miraa van to Nyeri, and in his words, nothing can prompt him to go back to Mandera.
Usiku ndio wanakujaga kitu kama saa 7 hivi saa 8. Sasa ile mmeshikwa na usingizi, unastukia tu. Sasa ingine wanakujaga wanatustua na risasi lakini hawagusi. Kuna kugusa.
He says what he has seen has made him lose faith in the power of the government to protect him.
Ama anasirapu askari. Na hakuna huyu mtu mahali tapelekwa na webeji.
The pain and anguish amongst the residents of Chaka is palpable, and a cloud of anxiety reigns. So much so that there have been fears of retaliatory attacks, forcing the Nyeri leadership to meet with the religious leaders from both the Muslim and Christian faiths to quell the simmering disquiet.
Hakuna sura hata moja inatuambia sisi ambao ni Waislamu tupigane na majirani wetu, tupigane na makabila fulani, ama tupigane na watu gani.
It's a moment when we should come together and we stand tall as Kenyans.
Tunasikia governor wa Mandera had some information, and of course if they have been sitting there like the way we sit here, maybe those situations would have been arrested.
A help desk has been set up to assist those bereaved trace and identify their loved ones. Plans are underway to transport the bodies from City Mortuary in Nairobi to various hospital morgues in Nyeri County. A public baraza led by Kieni legislator Kanini Kega was held in Chaka Town. Just last Friday, Kieni buried 2 sisters who were among the 28 who died in the other attack in Mandera. And this time, around 18 sons of this region will come back home in coffins. Political utterances were heard here. Plans are underway to conduct one requiem mass for those who lost their lives in the wee hours of Tuesday morning. Carol Derry, KTN, Kieni, Nyeri.
Still on the Mandera attacks and the reactions they have triggered so far, the Labour Cabinet Secretary Kazungu Kambi today gave out the most impassioned comment yet, angrily dismissing those criticizing the government over the handling of security matters. Here's what he had to say at the COMESA grounds at KICC.
Don't live in perpetual fear. As a government, we have a duty and we are going to protect you, and we are already doing it, and we'll do it, and we shall do it. And let's not bring politics when it comes to matters of security. And this country belongs to all of us. It doesn't belong to court, it doesn't belong to TNA, it doesn't belong to PRU, it belongs to all of us. This is our country, this is our mother country, and this is our land.
Now, Kenyan and Ethiopian troops are fighting the Al-Shabaab in Somalia under the African Mission in Somalia, AMISOM. But as it turns out, Kenya has suffered more sporadic attacks from the Al-Shabaab militants compared to Ethiopia, yet they share a common border with Somalia. According to security experts, Ethiopia has been unable to detect and preempt terror attacks due to high alert security intelligence networks, as well as clamping down on extremism. KTN's Patrick Amimo has more.
Ethiopian troops were in January this year deployed to Somalia to work under the African Union peacekeepers in Somalia, AMISOM. This was after the Ethiopian government accepted an offer by the African Union to have its 4,395 troops work alongside the Somali National Army. The Ethiopian troops operate in Gedo, Bay and Bokol regions in AMISOM Sector 3. Prior to hurting under AMISOM, Ethiopia's military had invaded Somalia in 2006 to fight the Islamic Courts Union, which later transformed into Al-Shabaab. Ethiopia was forced to withdraw its troops from Somalia in 2009 after international human rights groups accused Ethiopian troops of committing atrocities. The Ethiopian government denied the allegations. Ugandan and Burundian peacekeepers were sent to Somalia in 2007 to replace Ethiopian forces. There were fears that the presence of Ethiopian forces under AMISOM could reignite existing anti-Ethiopian sentiments in Somalia and become a rallying cry for Al-Shabaab. Indeed, soon after Ethiopian troops entered Somalia, Al-Shabaab spokesman Ali Mahmoud Rage urged his countrymen to rise up against Ethiopians. AMISOM's top command moved quickly to assure the Somali population.
They are operating under AMISOM mandate, and then they will work under also AMISOM First Commander instructions and orders.
I assure you that Ethiopia's defense force will make a difference in AMISOM operation by clearing Al-Shabaab from Sector 3.
Ethiopia shares a longer land border with Somalia. There is also a sizable ethnic Somali community inside Ethiopia. But Al-Shabaab has not succeeded in penetrating the Ethiopian border to spread its terror mission. Kenya equally shares a long border with Somalia, but Al-Shabaab militants have occasionally infiltrated through to cause mayhem and killings in Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, and Lamu. What has been Ethiopia's secret of keeping off Al-Shabaab?
The intelligence is all over that country, and by the way, that has been our undoing in this country. That is why we have failed in national security, because since the departure of President Moi over 10 years ago, we have hardly invested adequately in national intelligence.
In 2010, Al-Shabaab ventured outside Somalia when it bombed a sports bar in Kampala, killing 74 people who were watching the World Cup. In October this year, the United States warned of an imminent terrorist attack in Bole area of Addis Ababa, Ethiopia's capital. Ethiopian government dismissed the terror threats and boasted of the strong anti-terrorism network it has put in place. Attempts by Al-Shabaab to sneak through the border have often hit a brick wall.
The Somalis in that region have been made to feel that they are citizens of a different country. They are citizens of Ethiopia. So they have been recruited massively into national security. And in this particular case, I mean intelligence gathering, covert intelligence gathering.
Ethiopia is more or less a closed society with an authoritarian system of governance. Kenya is an open society governed under democratic ideals. But then, what critical security lessons can Kenya borrow from Ethiopia to boost its war on terror?
We must invest in intelligence. That's the principal reason or lesson we should learn from our brothers in Ethiopia. The second, we must involve the indigenous people of that region in keeping their area safe. We should not forget about the network in the region. Ethiopia has relied greatly on intelligence gathered from outside their country.
Patrick Amimo, KTN.
Away from security issues to our top story tonight. So, Chief Prosecutor of the ICC, Fatu Bensouda, has 1 week to either withdraw the case against Uhuru Kenyatta or state whether she has enough evidence to take it to full trial. On the big question we're asking, do you think the Kenyan government has deliberately frustrated Bensouda's case?
At Ole Coleman says, I don't think. Maybe Bensouda should blame her witnesses and not the government.
Patrick Alushula says, yes, the government mutilated the evidence. Obviously, it could not have submitted evidence to add the case any strength.
Someone here using the name Best Writing Service says, it is common sense the government can't provide details that may lead to the indictment of the president.
And Meshak Nyaundi says, no, it's Bensouda was not prepared enough with her evidence against President Uhuru Kenyatta's case.
Those are your opinions. Thank you for participating. Keep tweeting us. We'll sample some of your tweets during this bulletin. You're watching KTN Prime. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back. KTN Prime, and just ahead, why ODM MPs want Raila to be Homa Bay Senator.
You're watching KTN Prime.
Welcome back to the program.
Let's now focus on politics. A section of the Orange Democratic Movement members of parliament now want the party leader, Raila Odinga, to run for the Homa Bay senatorial seat. The MP says Raila's presence in the Senate will strengthen the voice of the opposition in its efforts to keep the government in check.
With Homa Bay County gearing up for a by-election slated for the 2nd of February next year following the death of Otieno Kajwang, ODM MPs are exploring their options of who is best suited to succeed Kajwang.
The person who should succeed Kajwang be a senior politician who wields influence and is equal to the task.
The future of this country, the future of devolution, and for other issues of security and whatever, we need strength in our house.
The MPs have narrowed down to their party leader, Raila Odinga.
Raila Molo Odinga, Prime Minister, consider serving the people of this country in the Senate.
As a champion of democracy and devolution, needs to be in the Senate to defend his brainchild, devolution.
We are not intending to impose the Prime Minister to the people of Homa Bay.
According to analysts, the strength of the opposition coalition for reforms and democracy in parliament is somewhat strained, with two of its leaders, Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka, out of parliament.
If Mr. Raila Odinga is given the chance, he will bring on board his wealth of experience in politics.
The MPs argue their proposal is not without precedence.
Former Prime Minister of Great Britain, the former Gordon Brown, is sitting in the House of Commons. The fourth President of the United States of America, John Quincy Adams, after serving as the President of the United States, actually sat and died when he was a member of the House of Representatives of the United States of America.
The MPs say they will approach the former Prime Minister with their proposal as they kick off their quest to have Raila secure a seat in the Senate. Rita Tinina, KTN.
It will be interesting to see what the former Prime Minister's response will be to that. Now, the government says over 70 Chinese immigrants have been arrested after their house in Rwanda was raided by police following reports that fake currency was being made there and cybercrime activities being conducted. 2 cabinet secretaries joined detectives in the raid on the house. The police said several machines used to make fake currency were recovered together with computers. Foreign Affairs Secretary Amina Mohamed and her information communication counterpart Dr. Fred Matiang'i said the immigrants have all been arrested and will be arraigned in court soon.
What has been going on here is actually a cyber command center and a huge criminal gang that is running a cybercrime framework here.
So if it was a terrorist command center, then it doesn't matter whether you leased the house to them. You could probably be one of the victims. In the same case as if it were a command center for some cyber criminal activity. It's your bank account, it's your information, and it will not say, oh, you know, you leased the house to me, and therefore, right, I will not touch you. I will, I'll be much more careful with you. I'll save you. I will protect you. It doesn't say that. It's indiscriminate, so it affects all of us, and that's why there is some responsibility.
Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. Let's remind you of a big question tonight. We're asking you if you think the Kenyan government has deliberately frustrated Bensouda's case.
Frederick Otieno on Twitter says, no, Bensouda failed immediately. Ocampo left the ICC, so nothing new.
Admagoringo says, this question is relevant as the judges have ruled on it. If the government of Kenya had, they would have referred it to the Assembly of State Parties.
Keep the views coming. You're watching KTN Prime. Many thanks for staying with us. We'll take another quick break, but don't go too far.
You're watching KTN Prime.
Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. Let's take a look at business news. Abby Agina is handling that for us. Abby, what stands out for you tonight?
Well, tonight on business, there's more funding for SMEs, and also we'll be giving you a story just to tell you what to expect in the oil exploration.
All right, Abby.
Well, my name is Abby Agina. Let's head off straight to the business news. Oil exploration companies are contemplating of selling their stake, with global oil prices taking a dive in recent days. Tullow Oil, which is one of the leading exploration firms in the world, saw its share fall by 20% over 5 days of trading. The fall in oil prices could dim exploration activities in Kenya and the greater East African region, with oil prices falling below $70 a barrel, almost down a third from peak prices in June. Firms like Tullow Oil are expected to have a harder time exploiting their production potential in undeveloped oil fields. Tullow has lost half its market value since June, which translates to about 540 billion shillings, and seen its shareholder roster change to include funds in the United States, what would probably be more receptive to a sale. Kenya has enjoyed great trade relationships with members from the European Union, who are the primary importers of the country's horticultural products. But the EU now wants to take this relationship to the next level as it seeks to stem rising competition from other international investors. Adelaide Changoli sat down with the EU ambassador and has this story.
Oil finds the nascent mining sector to the economic boom that is creating a rapidly expanding middle class, Africa is a continent that cannot be ignored. And as American, Chinese, South American government and businesses come calling, Europe is making its presence felt.
If we mention China, if we think of Japan, if we think of Korea, India, Russia, we're all competing. And I think it's quite important to realize that. we have also our own interest in a further development of the African market.
Europe has traditionally been ranked among Kenya's biggest trading partners, buying a majority of the country's tea, cut flowers, coffee, and vegetables. But with the signing of the Economic Partnership Agreement in October, the members of the European Union want to deepen the partnership beyond just raw materials.
Look at the initial production of automotives. We've seen that in Southern Africa, South Africa in particular, for quite a while. Big brands. Why should it not be the case in Eastern Africa? So I think there's huge potential.
To this end, European companies are setting base in the country to try and capitalize on the nascent demand for high-value products in the EU market and the rising sophistication of the Kenyan consumer, who is now demanding customized solutions.
There's no reason why we would not at some point see Volkswagen, Mercedes, Audi, Renault back in production, or at least assembly, in Eastern Africa.
But the EU is calling on the government to set a conducive environment that will facilitate the growth and development of the local domestic market that can consume the goods being produced locally.
It means also a fairly transparent labor market, fairly clear labor laws, and obviously a fairly important infrastructure, because some of those products will be made here for local consumption, but some of those products will be made here for exportation to other world destinations.
Specifically, the EU wants the state to streamline its mode of governance in the business sphere to ensure the rules and regulations adopted allow businesses to thrive and prosper.
Become a bit more transparency also in the fiscal sphere. No random taxation, and so that people know what they are going to be facing. As you know, we have been asking also VAT refunds need to be processed.
Adelaide Chongole, KTN Business.
Well, now let's turn our attention to that story we talked about, where SMEs and entrepreneurs will be getting more funding. This and much more on KTN Business Roundup.
Equity Bank has received a 5.6 billion shillings credit line from the European Investment Bank that will be used to facilitate on-one lending to small and medium enterprises. Equity will scout for eligible SME players from Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda and South Sudan and give them loans so as to accelerate their performance. The credit line is part of the European Investment Bank's global loan facility. Equity Bank will provide entrepreneurship training and peer club networks to guarantee the success of the selected SMEs.
We also realized that the integration of the East African region is generating cross-border trade in a significant way. And so the facility covers SMEs within the region.
Elsewhere, regional retailer Nakumatt Holdings anticipates a 30% jump in sales this festive season thanks to the steady rebirth of confidence among shoppers. The retail chain says the confidence of mall shoppers had dropped to worrying levels for the better part of the year due to a number of factors, among them insecurity. To drive the growth, the retailer is banking on its Christmas reward program worth 20 million shillings and its expansive network of 52 branches spanning 4 countries in East Africa. Finally, Safaricom has launched an 8-week consumer and merchant promotion drive to encourage use of M-Pesa for retail transactions. The telco operator plans to sensitize a majority of its 19.5 million M-Pesa customers to use the Lipa na M-Pesa platform as it seeks to grow usage of the mobile money service and encourage a cash-light culture in the country.
Well, let's now turn our attention to the Forex and let's see how your money worked for you. Well, many thanks. That's all we had for you on KTN Business. But coming up next is Sports News with Moses Wahisi. My name is Abi Agina.
To matters basketball now. Women's Basketball Premier League side Cooperative Bank is on the path to write a basketball history. The Kingdom Queens, who are set to meet USIU in the playoff semi-finals, have vowed to conquer the Kenyan basketball scene and back the league crown at the end of this season. The season has not been all rosy for the Kingdom Queens, who lost 3 of their top players to top clubs in USA. This, however, has not deterred their ambition of winning their maiden basketball league crown. The club's new players took little time to adapt to the demands of the game and are now starting to make history.
I know it's not going to be an easy game, so all of us are working hard, we are pushing, we are giving our best as we prepare for the semi-finals.
Pressure is there all the time, but I think it is a positive motivation to us. The pressure, I mean, yeah, and I think we're gonna do something about it.
Unlike their male counterparts who have dominated club basketball in Kenya, the Kingdom Queens are hoping to shake off the sleeping giants tag that has been hanging on their neck for a while now. They have warned USIU that their meeting this weekend will be a battle like no other.
We are going to entertain you very much. Expect a spectacular semi-finals from us.
The bank has qualified for the semis after defeating Strathmore University in the best of 3 series. The Professional Athletes Association of Kenya held a conference dubbed Okoa Riadha at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. Apart from championing athletes' interest, doping menace was their top agenda. The conference came against a backdrop of doping claims against Kenyan athletes, with the recent case of Rita Jepto being the latest tint of the Kenyan athletes fraternity. Also on their discussion, the professional urged the Athletics Kenya disgruntled members and the president to solve their issues. Other issues that came in the meeting was the issues about doping, that they say that it needs immediate intervention.
The athletes who dope is not their wish. They do it not intentionally. And doping is a worldwide issue.
Watulete watu wa doping. Mara kama 2-3 wasomeshe watume wengine, Eldoret, Embu, Ngong, mahali kuna wachezaji njuu wengi hawajui ni nini inaitwa doping.
So tonight we are reporting that the ICC judges have given Chief Prosecutor Fatu Bensida 1 week to either withdraw the case against Uhuru Kenyatta or provide evidence, prove that she has evidence to take it to trial. On the big question we are asking you, do you think the Kenyan government has deliberately frustrated Bensouda's case?
The poll results will shortly be on your screen. There we go. At Ali Noor says, Bensouda's fallacies have finally come to the real test. Let her hang up her files full of fallacies.
San Mugi says, I don't think so, because one, ICC judges have confirmed today that Kenya cooperated well.
Francis Mbugwa says no, unless ICC is just but a kangaroo court. A big question has always hung on prosecution integrity.
Stephen on Twitter says, yes, prosecuting a sitting president is a nightmare and governments may use its power to intimidate witnesses.
Atlevicon says Bensouda and the ICC prosecution are incompetent. It's like blaming the opposition team for not letting you score.
Alian Rose simply says Bensouda's fallacies have finally come to the real test.
Lastly, at Frankie Seto says there's no way a nation will surrender its king. There's no way a nation will surrender its king.
Many thanks for participating in the big question tonight, and of course, this being Wednesday, it is the night for Jeff Koinange Live. Let's now go to Jeff Koinange to just find out what he has lined up for you immediately after this newscast. Jeff, what do you have for us?
Thanks very much, Ben and Linda. We are just about warming up, getting ready for what will surely be an explosive JKL. We are live at the Intercontinental. Tony Gashoka is here in his usual splendor. And we're awaiting the bullfighter himself, Kakamega Senator Dr. Bonnie Khalwale, who I understand is busy eating chicken wings next door. So I don't know whether he's going to show up. His seat is ready. Tony's ready. We're ready. I hope you are too. Twitter handles at Tony Gashoka, at Bonnie Mtetezi, at Koinanga Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. Be sure to tune in. Start tweeting. Tweets already coming in thick and fast. And the show hasn't even begun.
Is it Bonnie or is it the ghost? We'll find out.
Indeed, Tony, indeed. See you on the other side of this break. Ben, Linda.
Indeed, Jeff, let's hope the bullfighter can make it there on time.
It is interesting how Jeff talks up you as a guest. You have to deliver on the bench. You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. Well, that's where we end it on KTN Prime. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Linda Ogutu.
Many thanks for your company tonight. I'm Ben Kitili. Good night from the KTN News Center.